I never have an expectation that I will be there in the future. So I don't say, oh, I can't wait until I am. I have to say, if that is what I want, I need to do it now. Because if I don't do it now, I don't know if I have the opportunity to do it then. I knew that cancer patients get sick. I knew that cancer patients lose their hair. I knew that cancer patients died. I didn't know that breast cancer would be so physically, mentally, and emotionally taxing on every single facet of the world that I knew. How do you look at yourself back in the mirror when you get out of the shower in the morning, when you have square tits? I called them my SpongeBob square tits, with no nipples, bruises and blood and scars and missing hair, missing eyebrows, missing eyelashes. You just like, you feel lost. And I felt like a shell of a person. And I really had to challenge myself and say, what and who am I? I realized that the reason why I was feeling so lost was because I was completely disassociated from my body. I did not, people say like, treat it like a temple and blah, 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 blah. No, I fucking hated my body. I hated everything about it. I hated the fact that it gave me cancer. I hated the fact that I had to amputate the breasts from my chest. I hated the fact that I had to go through this treatment and I lost, all that I thought was like great features, like my hair and my eyebrows. I was not okay. Like I was not okay with it. I was not going to treat something like a temple if I hated it, and I couldn't respect it. I couldn't love it because like simple things in life were disrupted. I just never thought it was going to be my underwear drawer. So that's when I made a bra. I said to myself, okay, I actually am like the only young person with breast cancer, because that's what I thought back then. I'm talented and skilled enough that I can solve this problem for myself, which then should hopefully help other people. And I'm kind of crazy enough to start my own business. And that all came to me like waking up in the middle of the night. And then I just said, I don't have a choice here. I've got to do this. I guess I would just say, I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but you just can't give up on yourself no matter what life throws at you. I think like I say that all of the time because that time actually has a definition to me now. And when I got diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 27, and I didn't expect to even live 5 years of my life after that, it was like every year after that 5 years has been a gift to me. And I say to a lot of people, and it's hard for people that love me to hear this, but I never have an expectation that I will be there in the future. So I don't say, oh, I can't wait until I am. I have to say, if that is what I want, I need to do it now. Because if I don't do it now, I don't know if I have the opportunity to do it then. Where people say, oh, when I retire, I will, next year I will. And I'm like, I have to go now. I have to say now, because I don't know what my future holds. Yeah. I know that I've only met a handful of people that have lived with breast cancer over a 20-year mark or a 25-year mark, or an absolute unicorn at a 30-year mark. So if I make it to 57, like I become one, right? To my own self, to my own aspirations. And so I think to myself, same, like every year is a gift, not, oh, I can't believe I'm so old, or I'm so this, or I'm so that, it's.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm lucky to get to say I made it to 40.
So through the questions, let's have a conversation. I want to know, what does it feel like to be a 27-year-old woman and getting told you have breast cancer? Because I can't even imagine it.
I think when I heard it, I was lucky I was so naive, right? I'm not naive anymore, right? Like my reality is a very strong, fierce reality. But at 27 years old, I didn't know any better. I mean, I thought my life was over for sure. I was engaged to be married. We had our wedding planned in Las Vegas in about 3 months. I was climbing the corporate ladder just as I had dreamed and wished of doing. I mean, the world was at my fingertips, it was just, at 27 years old, I thought I knew a lot. I thought I was really mature. I had incredible life experiences. I'm lucky that I did. But in reality, to look at, like, I call her baby Dana. Like, I don't even associate to that person anymore because she was, so wrecked in so many different ways. But I was also just so young, all of my friends surrounding me were not having to deal with like the heavy shit I had to deal with every single day.
Yeah.
And, I look back at it and I think, sometimes I'm hard on myself and I'm like, oh, why didn't I this or why didn't I that? But I was just navigating a world that I had absolutely no idea about. I mean, when I was diagnosed at the age of 27, like the youngest person I was introduced to was a 50-year-old woman, which now as I'm entering closer to that age, as we talk about how old we are, I sit there and think, oh, she wasn't that old. But at 27 years old,
She's
you were
8.
light years apart. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, like, no wonder, like she was fun and she was this, but like, she still had kids. Like I didn't have kids. Like she was at the peak of her career, or at least the top of her career. I was just starting mine. Like she was there for me. And I'm glad that we were able to laugh and support each other, but she wasn't where I was in that point in time in my life. And so I really had to navigate so much of this by myself because 2010 was a very different era. Like Facebook was your actual legitimate friends. They weren't like strangers. They're like people on the internet. Like you only got fed the people that you knew, not people that you didn't know. It was just like, there wasn't a network. There wasn't access digitally to other people. It was still very much an in-person lifestyle.
Mhm.
And when all of the people around you are your age and nobody's chopping their tits off to save their lives, you feel different.
And my sense is, I mean, we weren't even talking about tits back then, never mind breast cancer,
No.
right?
No.
So there wasn't, it was still hushed. It was still
Mhm.
so, I mean, the amount of isolation you must have felt would be extraordinary. So how did you cope with that? How did you even begin to navigate this journey?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was just such an odd time. And it sort of feels weird going back there because it does feel very foreign, just like the experiences. I've always been a fiercely independent individual. I feel grateful for that because I wasn't afraid that I was isolated in that moment. I don't think I even realized how alone I felt in a lot of those moments because they were happening at such accelerated pace and I had no point of connection. I had no idea what somebody like me was also going through at my age. I literally thought I was the only young person with breast cancer.
Mm.
Because yeah, we weren't talking about it. We weren't talking about dense breast tissue yet. We weren't talking about young diagnoses yet. Every billboard had a happy, smiling 65-year-old plus woman on it, jumping up and down in a pink feather boa or tutu or something to that extent. And I was just like, I don't relate. Like, I'm not smiling. I'm not happy. This is not okay. Where are my conversations? I really just felt out of the loop. I felt out of the community loop, out of the conversational loop, out of the treatment loop. And that was, what sort of propelled my own advocacy and activism inside the space because I was like, well, somebody's got to talk about this. Somebody's got to bring this up, and I think navigating it with friends and family was incredibly difficult. Like it was just difficult because there just wasn't any resources for anybody. We were all figuring it out as we went. And, the sad face that I would get when I would tell somebody I had breast cancer, they would see me bald or, it was just, they could tell I was a young person, going through like this horrendous thing in their life. And I just, feeling so alienated in those moments, right? Like also helped me stand a little bit taller in those moments too, because I'm just like fiercely independent. So I usually go against the grain I usually push back. I don't sit in the corner and coddle myself. I'm just not that person. So I'm lucky that that was my personality, because it sort of helped me get through some of those like really super awkward, horrible barriers. Maybe not always gracefully, but at least I got through. So that's all that matters.
And I feel that so many of us are coming to a stage now, and it's one of the things that I'm really encouraging women is it's time to evolve from the strong, independent women into the powerful, interdependent women, to bring back connection, community. Because yes, we needed to be independent for a long time, but it's created mass loneliness in society. And so for me, this is that evolution of, okay, we don't need to be lone wolves anymore. It's time for the pack to come back. And I feel like that is really what you created. You've created one of the most ballsy, courageous, fierce, beautiful packs that I've come across in a really, really long time. So tell us about that. Tell me, how does a woman go from being diagnosed at 27 to saying, you know what, there's no nice lingerie for me, and creating that, and then creating this movement that you've created? Like, how does that even happen?
I don't know. I don't know. I guess it happens because there's how does it happen? This is actually a really complex question for me, but I also feel like it's interesting because I'm sort of in this year of reflection myself, because we're 10 years in business this year, and which is an incredible feat. And I sort of say, I was a bit of a bull, right? If you put a brick wall in front of me, I will break my way through it. And I've been that person. And I feel like what I was addressing very, very early on was just this entire disruption of my life.
Mhm.
And I didn't understand why my life was being disrupted on the levels that it was being disrupted. I knew that cancer patients get sick. I knew that cancer patients lose their hair. I knew that cancer patients died. I didn't know that breast cancer would be so physically, mentally, and emotionally taxing on every single facet of the world that I knew. And a lot of that came from like me being a fashion designer for my whole life. Like, I've always been a creative. I've always been artistic. I've always expressed myself in, ways I've wanted to express myself. And like, just the whole slate got wiped clean, and I had to start over. And I didn't really even know how to start over because I had nobody to lean on. I received no real instruction or direction on how I was navigating these things. Like, how do you look at yourself back in the mirror when you get out of the shower in the morning, when you have square tits? I called them my SpongeBob square tits, with no nipples, bruises and blood and scars and missing hair, missing eyebrows, missing eyelashes. You just like, you feel lost. And I felt like a shell of a person. And I really had to challenge myself and say, what and who am I?
Mhm.
And I tried my best to start over. Like, okay, I'm like a super New Yorker, like designer chick at the end of the day. Like, I can wear black all day, every day. How many shades of black? And I'm like, I'm going to start over. I'm going to be the frilly maxi dress, floral print, anthropology girl I've always dreamed of. And then I like became her. And I'm like, she sucks. She is not who I think I'm supposed to be. And I was going through this like exploration of like, who am I? What am I? Like, I just lost everything that I could have associated myself to, and it's gone. And in doing that, I literally woke up in the middle of the night with a hot flash. Like, I wish it was a joke. It's 100% real. And it just came at me like a cosmic boom. And I realized that the reason why I was feeling so lost was because I was completely disassociated from my body. I did not, people say like, treat it like a temple and blah, 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 blah. No, I fucking hated my body. I hated everything about it. I hated the fact that it gave me cancer. I hated the fact that I had to amputate the breasts from my chest. I hated the fact that I had to go through this treatment and I lost, all that I thought was like great features, like my hair and my eyebrows. I was not okay. Like I was not okay with it. I was not going to treat something like a temple if I hated it, And I couldn't respect it. I couldn't love it because like simple things in life were disrupted. I just never thought it was going to be my underwear drawer. So that's when I made a bra. I said to myself, okay, I actually am like the only young person with breast cancer, because that's what I thought back then. I'm talented and skilled enough that I can solve this problem for myself, which then should hopefully help other people. And I'm kind of crazy enough to start my own business. And that all came to me like waking up in the middle of the night. And then I just said, I don't have a choice here. I've got to do this. And, one thing led to the next, led to the next, led to the next. And, we've done, I feel like we've done a lot. I feel like we've accomplished a lot. There's so much more work to be done. But if I had to step back, like I can look back and say, I'm really proud of myself and I'm really proud of what we've been able to build. And the fact that we've been able to start conversations and see a community take off with them and be a part of that movement has just been like, I don't know, something that I really hope that I can hold dear and look back on one day and just say, shit, yeah, we did that.
We did that.
Yeah.
It's incredible what occurs when we wake up with the knowing, and then not back down. Because I think a lot of the times people wake up with that, oh, this is happening. And then they go, it's just not a convenient time. Who am I to do this? No, I can't possibly. Instead of just failing forward is how I say it. Just fail forward, take the action, whatever the outcome is, and just move from there. Tell me about the fashion show. So we have these incredible photos in the magazine from Kerry's work. Tell me about the fashion show, because when I look at those images, I'm just like, whoa.
So the fashion show means a lot to me on very many different levels, both personally and professionally. As I mentioned, I've been a designer my whole life. So, and in high fashion in New York. So to be on the stage at New York Fashion Week is just like our Oscars. Like that in itself is just such a professional feat that I don't even think I've allowed myself to like absorb or enjoy. But there was a very big pivotal moment. My dear late friend Champagne Joy started an organization, Cancer Culture, used to be called Cancerland. And she had an opportunity to do this show. Her dear friend from high school, Mara Servino, was a big supporter of hers. And Champagne was just a visionary. She would not take no for an answer. She would not back down from anybody. And she was probably one of the smartest, most talented advocates I've ever encountered in my entire life. And she says to me 2 weeks before New York Fashion Week, hey, Dana, I have this opportunity. Are you down? I was like, hey, I love you, but you're crazy. Can't do New York Fashion Week in 2 weeks. Isn't going to happen. We postponed it to the next season. And it was really such a pivotal moment when we had our fashion show, because it was the year of the Women's March. We started to have the conversations around Free the Nipple. And the CFDA, which is the Council of Fashion Designers of America, have standards for what is New York Fashion Week. They're the ones that produced it, and all of these things. Well, back then, a woman's nipple was the definition of nudity. And our producer had been up against several strikes for racy fashion shows. And I remember going on This was like the scariest moment in my life, because to me, as a professional with a name in the industry, I was like, this show either makes or breaks me. That's the professional side. I also knew from my advocacy side that the problem with breast cancer was that people didn't actually know what breast cancer was. And some people don't actually know what breast cancer is. We don't realize, and we did not realize back then, the body manipulation and mutilation that had to happen in order to save these people's lives. We just were not talking about it. It was like the amount of stories I've heard where it's like, oh, like grandma's chicken cutlet in her drawer, or, oh, we used to pull out grandma's boob and throw it around the closet, or, you know, Susie down the street had the big C and nobody would talk about it, right? It was constantly brushed under the rug. And that was a big part of Champagne's goals and initiatives. Like, let's bring it out from under the rug. Let's shine a light on it. And let's have the real conversations, because the pink ribbon is not saving us. The pink ribbon is not saving lives. Like, yell it louder for the people in the back. The pink ribbon is not saving lives. So how are we going to save lives if we're sort of up against this like monstrosity of marketing? Because we don't know what we're trying to save. We don't know if we don't see it. And I knew from the conversations I was having through AnaOno as I was creating the lingerie line, that the reason why nobody understood what I was doing, because people didn't actually understand what breast cancer was. And what a body looked like when they have breasts or have no breasts or have rebuilt breasts or are trying to mimic breasts. Like, we were not having these conversations out in public. They were happening behind closed doors, but they were not being dispersed throughout, you know, the community of the individuals that were impacted. So I said, if we're going to do the show, I have to show the world what breast cancer is. And back to the nipples, the producer says to me, Dana, you cannot have any nipples on the runway. And I said, don't worry, you won't see any nipples. Because none of us had them. They were all gone. They've all been chopped off and removed. So like, we were not walking around with nipples on our bodies. It wasn't an option. So when we had the show and we, was still semi-cautious at this point in time, even though, there was bare chests, there was nippleless chests, there was flat chests on, multiple different individuals that walked in that show. And it was just really this moment where I remember going to the after party and Champagne called me and she says, we just went viral. And I was like, sounds like an STD. Are we sure? What does this mean exactly? And she's like, we hit 1 million views on the New York Times. And then I was like, what? Where's the article? I didn't even know it was there. I'm just like still like trying to like put clothes away and like take a shower. And she was like, by the time we got to the after party, we had hit like 2 million views. And then it just kept going and going and going. And I said, okay, now the world has seen what breast cancer looks like, which was pretty cool.
And powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful. I woke up a few mornings ago. Oh, I had the note somewhere. And I wrote this down. And this is from, by the way, from your work. And it says, a woman's beauty is not defined by the shape of her body, but by her presence. And that's what I really got from your work. And the presence is not just us being present, but the fact that we are present on this earth.
Yeah. Just
being here is beautiful. So thank 100%. You for that, because yes, that's what your work brings. And like I said, I think your work is more impactful than even you realize, even for us as women who don't have breast cancer, and how brutal we are with our bodies and defining beauty according to the shape with whatever the latest fashion is. and how
100%.
acted. Why AnaOno? Where's the name come from?
Oh, well, this is a great question because it comes from my name, Dana Donofree, double D free.
Wow. Okay. So you were born to do this.
Well, let me tell you, I was not born with double D's. I was like a hot bee on a period week. So anybody that knows me from the joke, they're like, "Oh, Dana, you're cute."
Wow, that's powerful. How creative is that as well? Goodness, would never have figured that out. What's next for you, darling? What's next for your movement, for your work, for the change that you are creating on planet Earth?
Well, I hope a lot. I hope a lot. There is a ton of work that still needs to be done. I have big dreams. I have big ideas. I mean, I think, something I'm really pushing and striving for is that, we've evolved over time on AnaOno, and so have I as a person, but also like, I sort of say my brand is my alter ego. She evolves too. And she's a lot of things that I'm not, and she's a lot of things I wish I was, but I really am super proud of like our chest inclusive movement. I really believe that nobody with or without breasts, or with or without one breast or two breasts or no breasts, should feel alienated from wherever they are in life. Normalizing the conversation that, again, the breasts don't define us the way we express ourselves does. And that we can normalize this conversation for the millions upon millions of people living with this disease worldwide, that we're not any less of a woman or any less of a person because we're missing part of our breasts or our breasts entirely. That I feel still has a long way to go. Maybe not as much in the United States. I think there's still stigma here, of course, but worldwide, there's a huge missing component of that to keep women's health and women's well-being safe and secure. And I want to do that work. I, know that there is a lot that still has to be done from like an education standpoint, which is a huge burden for a very small business to manage and get through. But with opportunities like this, I really believe that if I can impact just one life a day, I've done my job. And, I believe in that wholeheartedly. And, I have tons of big dreams, right? Tons of big things I want to do. But, my goal really is to strive to normalize the conversation. And it doesn't have to just be with AnaOno. I mean, there's new mastectomy and post-surgical brands that are popping up every week. And I embrace that. I love it because I can't be the only one doing it. I've been the only one doing it for too long. Like we need, everybody has a style. You might not like the AnaOno style. And I want there to be options, there's plenty of room for everybody. But, we have to continue to evolve the conversation. And sometimes, people will say, okay, well, what's your dream for your business? And I can truly, truly say that my dream is that one day I can close my doors gracefully because we don't have to amputate breasts off of somebody's body to save their life. We need to get the disease to that place. There is no reason why we are losing our breast tissue to stop a cancer that should be treated in other ways. And if we can do that, that will be the best day I will ever celebrate, because will cancer go away? It will not. That's okay. It's not supposed to go away. This is a very human driven prospect of the way we evolve. And you can look at a bed of flowers. Some flowers live, some flowers die, some flowers get infected, those flowers will die as well. Like this is natural cell progression of the human body, but we can treat it better and we can elongate our lives more. And we don't have to die within 5 years if we can fund research that can give us better pathways through treating the disease. Hopefully one of those is like, let's not chop our tits off. That'd be great.
That would be great.
Great.
2 questions and then I'll let you go. So my one question is, how do readers support you?
In any way possible. Our bras are designed for some of the most sensitive bodies in the world, but anybody can wear them.
Mhm.
So, they're underwire free, they're beautiful, super soft materials, great fit. We ship around the world. So you can visit AnaOno.com, which is AnaOno.com. You can follow along with me on the socials under Dana_Donofree if you want to see the life of an advocate and a small business owner and an entrepreneur. And then of course, any love you can give to us on social media. I say to everybody, most times we all know somebody with breast cancer. So even if you just forward this to somebody that you know or that you care about, with or without being afflicted, they're going to know somebody. I mean, the way that we help other people is just with awareness, and however you can share, one little piece helps us go miles.
Amazing. And we'll get all those links from you and put them into the article as well. Last question. What is your naked truth that you want people to know around the world today?
What is my naked truth? I guess I would just say, I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but you just can't give up on yourself no matter what life throws at you. I've fought very hard for the last 14 years of my life to just live. And the reason why I keep going is because I don't give up on myself or other people. And I didn't expect that. But we have to believe in ourselves, and we have to keep going no matter the cost. And a lot has costed me, both friendships, love, family, and but it matters, so just don't give up on yourself. Why'd you make me cry?
Because you are such an incredible woman. Even the fact that you are willing to be seen in this moment, in your truth, is such a gift to me, such a gift to everybody who will ever hear this, see this, read this. And it's just testament to the incredible woman that you are. And thank God you didn't give up on you, because it would have been such a loss to the world.
That would be the easy choice. Like I told you earlier, I never take the easy choice.
Never take the easy choice. Sister, you rock. You are incredible. Thank you so much.